It's such an interesting time in our world and in our country. It's such an interesting time for the Jewish people. And it's such a beautiful moment that we're all coming together to celebrate Shabbat and celebrate special occasions and stand together in all of the moments that each of us are in our own lives. And we've chosen to come together. I might ask, what are you really doing here? Is it because there's an oneg afterwards? Is it because your mom or dad told you you needed to come? I'm not going to ask my kids to raise their hands. But an anthropologist, you know my favorite joke, but an anthropologist comes to a synagogue to try to understand what are the Jews doing there in the first place. And of course, he comes on a Friday night to a shul like ours, and he asks a man, hypothetically named Marvin Goldberg. I just made up the name, but it could be any name, right? He asked Mr. Goldberg why he comes to shul on Friday nights. And what does Mr. Goldberg say to him? Well, I come to celebrate Shabbat, to pray, to say thanks to God for the blessings in my life, and sometimes, yes, I come to say Kaddish when I have a yahrzeit. Does any of that apply to any of you? But then the anthropologist turns to the man sitting next to him, Mr. Goldman, and he asks him, so why are you here? Are you here for the same reasons? Mr. Goldman says, oh, I come to talk to Mr. Goldberg. That's why I'm here. And so it is that we come and gather for so many reasons. Yes, because we may find meaning in the services, the songs, the ritual, the familiar words, the familiar tunes, and of course the less familiar tunes. We come to say Kaddish, and of course we come to talk to each other. As human beings, we need each other. But first I have to say a word about that Jewish Times article. I have to say, I'm not going to name any names, but I did get a text earlier, and I was very confused by it. It said, Rabbi, you are now my favorite cover girl. I just have to say, I've never gotten a text like that. But yes, you may have seen a familiar face on the cover of the Jewish Times. And you know, what's amazing about an article after an interview is that you think after the interview that they really got the main points, right? You even ask to check the quotes for accuracy. And then you check the quotes and you fix a few things, and then you think the article is going to contain all the important stuff, right? First lesson, never talk to the press. No, it was a lovely article, but there were a couple of important things that were left out that I must share with you. First of all, well, how many of you actually read the article? Yes? Okay. So here's the disturbing thing that I have to correct right away, which is it shared why I was inspired by the founding rabbi and his daughter of Oheb Shalom. But I think it failed to say all the things that I said, Sherry's nodding her head, about the founding rabbi and what was so compelling about Har Sinai. And of course, now that we're Har Sinai, Oheb Shalom, I can't possibly let that rest. I must say that what I said, and I do have proof of this, what I said was how inspired I was by the combination of these legacies. That a founding rabbi of Har Sinai, namely David Einhorn, was incredibly inspiring to me long before I knew anything about Baltimore, because he loved liturgy and he loved to change it. But of course, perhaps even more importantly, he was committed to social justice. In fact, of course, we know that he was one of the most outspoken rabbis who stood against slavery. He stood against slavery at a time when that was not so popular. You know the story, right? No. Somebody, I love the honesty here. Who said, Okay, good. So this is why it's important to correct these things and fill in the story. But David Einhorn stood against slavery at a time when it was not only not a shared idea in American society, but American society was divided by whether or not slavery, the enslavement of human beings, could possibly be legal. A society divided around core issues of humanity. Sound familiar? But what happened to Rabbi Einhorn is that when his life was threatened because of the moral stance that he took due to the Judaism that he understood. And so he had to flee lest he be tarred and feathered. The opportunity to be able to serve a congregation that is the combination of those values of liturgical evolution and of a commitment to social justice from the legacy of Har Sinai, and the opportunity to serve a congregation led by Benjamin Zold, originally so committed to text and to tradition and to Zionism. I can't even say the state of Israel because it was long before truly there was the real possibility of a sovereign, independent Jewish democratic state for the Jewish people. His commitment to learning was such that he created a congregation that encouraged the girls and the boys to learn one alongside the other and to learn the same things. In fact, I learned that Evelyn Lessons Weitzman of blessed memory, that her family joined our congregation when she was just, 5 or 6 years old? Because her parents wanted her, and she was 100 years old, when she died this past week, but when she was 5, her parents wanted her to be in a place where girls could learn all the tradition too. Those are our legacies. And those are the things that I, as you know, am so committed to, and that our congregation and all of you are so committed to, that it is an honor to serve you. And then there were 2 other things that they left out. This could go on for a long time, I know, but just 2 more things. I spoke about our lay leadership, that in fact, without our lay leadership, and many of you who were involved in the process that led to such a successful merger that congregations who are thinking about merging in various cities all across North America call us. In fact, one just did recently. Call us because we've done it right. So how many of you were involved in that process? Our community is about and because of the visions of all of you and all of us who now come together. And of course, how could I speak about our congregation without also speaking about my clergy partner? And it just so happens that I have to speak about my clergy partner at a moment when her husband and her mother-in-law are here. So I don't need to tell you all what an incredible person she is, and what an incredible voice she has, and what an incredible open heart she has for all the things that we dream of together. But what you don't know is what an incredible friend and support system and chevruta she is. A true chevruta, by the way, is not someone who agrees with you all the time, right? In fact, that would be boring. But a true chavruta, right, that term in Hebrew for the person that you study with, right, in dyadic learning with, it comes from the word chaver, a friend, but it's a certain kind of partner that is willing to say to you, I think you've got it all wrong. Okay, you don't say that too often, thankfully. But she says it very gently. Perhaps, Rachel, we could do it like this. Or have you thought that maybe we might do it like that? Or maybe we might save those 17 other things you want to add to the service for future weeks. Aren't you glad that she's able to do that? But truly, what makes our community what it is all of these partnerships. All of these partnerships, not just amongst your clergy, but I also spoke about our professional staff, how wonderful it is to be able to work together. Our executive director is here, Lee Sherman, Stacy Smith, Jordan's here. So many people come together to make our community possible, to make these connections possible. It's our connections to one another in community that enable us to be everything that we want to be able to have what we often say, that we have something for every person to come here. In fact, sometimes it even happens on a single day, like Sundays, when we say that you can come here on Sundays and you can eat, pray, learn, and do good. And there are Sundays, actually, where we do all of those things at the same time. And different people are pulled together for those different reasons. But I assure you that I think most people are coming here not only to do those things, but to connect to one another, to be what Mr. Goldman said, to talk to Mr. Goldberg. But it's not just to connect. It's to connect to something and to belong to something. In fact, this week's Torah portion that you'll hear much more about tomorrow in our bar mitzvah tells us all about this incredible Torah portion. I know it's got a lot of kind of gross stuff in it, skin disease and stuff like that. But I want to stress something that's in it that is so relevant for what I'm saying. All of the laws in our Torah portion this week are really about ensuring that people can come together. It's about ensuring that there not be anything that divides us so far apart from each other that it can't be healed or solved in the space of a week. Someone might be outside the camp, but within a week of healing and of praying for them and of having the right health care, which Micah will say more about tomorrow, we bring them back into the community. We know that divisions between people not only distance people one from the other, but they also distance us from the sacred, from God. So we come here together to be close to each other, to be close to God, and to be close to our shared purpose, because we know that, in fact, that is what gives life meaning, our shared purpose. Passover involves a lot of cleaning, does it not? How many of you are involved in cleaning of one kind or another? Maybe I should say a word about that. No, I won't. How many of you are planning to eat matzah? Okay, good. See? Abby, it's going to be okay. They're all going to eat matzah. But what is that cleaning and preparation about? It's actually less about the actual cleaning than it's about spring cleaning. Anybody love spring cleaning? Right? There's something about purging all of that dust, and in the case of chametz, that puffy stuff out, removing it so that we can decrease the distance between ourselves and others. In fact, we clean and we prepare to make more room in ourselves and in our homes for guests, for other people, to be able to have reunions with other people. In fact, at the beginning of the Seder, what do? We hold up the matzah and we say, "Let all who are hungry come and eat." In fact, everything about Passover is truly about decreasing the distance between people. It's about bringing people closer together to transcend what separates us, to transcend all of that puffy stuff that might have come between us. Some Hasidic interpreters like to call chametz, it's that puffy stuff of the ego. The real reason we need to do spring cleaning is to kind of let go of all the stuff that over the course of the winter may have piled up inside us. And we also need to clean it out. I pray that as we prepare for Passover, in these precarious moments for our people, we will find that cleaning out barriers between us, coming into each other's homes and into our sacred space together, will allow us to bridge the distance between us. Perhaps we'll even find that during these spring moments as we're around the table with people with whom we might not agree. Anybody thinking they might be around a table with people with whom you might not agree? That these might be moments to have the kinds of conversations that allow us to understand what is our need for each other. What is our need to create the kind of community that can transcend all that separates us and all the social ills in our society that separate us. And if we do that, if we're able to come together, if we're able to embrace the community that we have created, if we're able to look each other in the eyes, to hug each other where appropriate, then I think that we will find that we too can decrease the distance between us. We too can come closer to that which is most sacred, and we too can continue to build the kind of sacred community that truly is worthy of God's name, of the name of the Jewish people, and is worthy of the future that we are yet to create. Shabbat Shalom.